Hey, what's up? I'm Channel Pup, fanboy supervillain. Today we're ranking the humans in the Sonic movies. I know what you're thinking, why not wait till the third movie's out so then you've got all of the humans in the Sonic movies so far? Shut up. This video is filler. I'm working on something a bit bigger and better right now, but I've got rent due, so this is just a fun little thing to tide you over. And you know what? It can be updated later, you know? So, like, there you go. 2 videos for the price of 1. Subscribe if you haven't already and you love Sonic. This is the place to be. And like everyone, I do require money to eat and live, so if you want to support this channel, the link to the Patreon is in the description below. Thank you so much. Alright, guys, let's get stuck in. Are you hyped? It's gonna be epic. Right, so some stipulations first. Obviously, these films take place in a human world, so I'm not ranking literally every human to exist in it. This is all done within reason, as long as they have kind of a talking role and a couple of lines, or maybe they do something somewhat impactful, then yeah, they're on the list. One person that will not be included on the list, though, is Dr. Robotnik, because Dr. Robotnik is a game character. These characters, the humans here, are people who have no later claim of the Sonic franchise and no real business being in a Sonic movie. And we're going to be seeing how well they justify their presence. I'm also not including kids because you don't become a human until at least like 21 years old in my eyes. The truth is I just forgot. Without further ado, let's get the bottom pick done. Number 16, and you've probably guessed it already, Wendy Whipple. The worst character in the entire Sonic franchise. In that there are characters that are meant to be kind of annoying to your protagonist. There are characters that you are not meant to root for. But then there are characters where you just think, this project would be better off if this character didn't exist. I, as an audience member, would be happier if this character did not exist. And that is Wendy Whipple, the most try-hard rival sibling character I have ever seen in my entire life. And she goes on to become a recurring supporting cast member in the final couple of episodes. God damn it, her whole character here is that she has to one-up Wade and she just absolutely hates Wade. Everything she says through gritted teeth. She is just utterly hostile. Wade's a cop, she's an FBI agent, and she has to go on about it constantly.
I'm working for the FBI.
People were genuinely on the attack defending this show. I just want to know how. But this isn't just her interactions with Wade. Every single line of dialogue this woman says is through gritted teeth.
No phones at the table. Work, Mom! Smart move, genius.
And if that doesn't scream forced, I don't know what will. E. Patterson, I haven't seen her in any other project. Maybe she's a good actress, but she didn't do a good performance here. Whether that's down to direction, whether that's down to her, I don't know, but this performance is absolutely diabolically terrible. This is a character with 0 redeeming qualities. I haven't even heard of fans of the Knuckles TV series that like this show for what it is, that like Wendy Whipple. If you like Wendy Whipple, step 1, comment below. Step 2, stop fucking lying. In at number 15 is Rachel. Now, Rachel was generally okay in the first Sonic movie, but unfortunately fell prey to overexposure in the second movie. She is the disapproving sister-in-law, and she is just incredibly loud.
Randall! Why is this home? Dirty! Lying! Hell hath no fury, like a bride scorned. Looks like it's real!
Shut up!
Imagine Patty and Selma from The Simpsons, but now they are really fucking loud. Stop fucking shouting. We can all hear you, just stop. This is a character archetype we've seen a million of, and it's not getting any funnier the more we see it. Really hoping she's not going to get a whole-ass subplot in the third movie despite getting a poster, because that third movie's shorter, okay? TikTok. We've got other things to look at here, and I don't want to hear a peep out of the we don't have time for Amy crowd if she gets a fucking subplot again. In number 14 is Randall Handle. I can at least laugh at his name. His name's kind of funny. Randall is the second part of the gruesome twosome of Rachel and Randall Randall benefits from just being a bit quieter. I know there's a lot of folks out there that were really happy to see this relatively small potatoes actor go on to be a recurring character in the Sonic the Hedgehog movie franchise. I've heard people say, yeah, but Shamar Moore, he's a great actor and stuff. I'm sure he is, but he doesn't really have any business here. Now, if they want to cast him as, I don't know, Espio or something, then be my guest, but for now, this poor son of a gun's got nothing to do. Utterly interchangeable. In number 13 is Agent Willoughby, who feels like she stepped out of a bad Roald Dahl book movie adaptation. Here we've got a mercenary for the buyer who's about as intimidating as Baby's first Roald Dahl audiobook. Ellie Taylor, again, I'm not going to judge the acting of this person from just this one project. but the performance isn't great. And again, whether that boils down to direction or something else entirely, I don't know. Again, I'm not someone to say, this is a bad actor, I'm just going to say, this is not a good performance. This is a teacher starring in the school play tier of performance. And there's really nothing to this character outside of a bit of exposition on her backstory in the 5th episode. That she genuinely wanted to protect the world from extraterrestrial threats, and she was working for Gun, but Gun were too busy with fake weddings, so she defaulted. Like, that's good stuff. It's just too bad that's only in exposition in the 5th episode, rather than being a continuous part of her character that feels diegetic. But hey, the Knuckles TV series is indeed where character writing goes to die, so I guess that makes sense. In number 12 is Agent Mason. Agent Mason is at least bolstered up by the fact that Kid Cudi seems like he's having a really good time. He's got a certain degree of charisma that just lets him slip by just that little bit. But I'd probably say there's less to this character than there was to Agent Willoughby. This guy just takes great joy in being a merc. At the same time, though, that does at least mean that this trait is a bit more diegetic to his character throughout the entire season than just being dumped on us in the 5th episode in exposition. What else? He's also got a doting mother who calls him while he's on the job. And it made me XD. I shot milk out of my nose. It was even funnier than when the minion said banana in Despicable Me. In at number 11 is the Buyer, the main villain of the Knuckles TV series. And there's actually a bit of potential for a decent villain here. It's just a shame he gets no screen time. A former Robotnik engineer that made a lot of Robotnik's tech, that, like Agent Willoughby, has defaulted and gone on to his own enterprise. Sounds good on paper again, but all of that is in an exposition dump rather than being communicated throughout the show. But what I appreciate here is that we've got the first villain in these movies that isn't all wacky, slapstick, and comedic. He's actually kind of serious, and could genuinely be intimidating if just given the time. Sadly, that just isn't the case for the Buyer, and he ends up being just kind of a non-presence. In number 10 is Crazy Carl. This is a character where they knew where to stop. They knew where to curb it. He's the neighborhood wackadoo, and the first guy to really cotton on to Sonic's existence, and everyone kind of dismisses him as just being nuts. Turns out he's completely right about the Blue Devil, and that works for just a joke in that first movie, and that's where they keep it. He doesn't return in the second film. Hopefully he won't return in the third or any spin-offs, because that's all you can really do with his character. That's the purpose this character serves. So, yeah. Good job in exercising some restraint. Let's keep it that way. In at number 9 is Wade Whipple, and knowing how I feel about the Knuckles TV series, you might be surprised that Wade isn't lower on this list. But when it was first announced that Wade would be a secondary main character in the Knuckles TV series, I wasn't actually complaining. I was perfectly willing to accept it on its own terms, because I thought Wade was actually okay. In the first 2 Sonic movies, Wade is genuinely kind of funny. He doesn't do much, he doesn't say much, but when he does, it's always an incredibly out-of-pocket observation. And Adam Pally delivers that dialogue really well.
So is that your dad? You know, I knew a kid in middle school named Knuckles. Could fit his whole fist in his mouth.
He's a childlike doofus, but he certainly has his charm. But when you take a character like that and make them the main character, I mean, that's basically the ultimate cardinal sin of sequels. You do not make your comic relief side character the main character. But there are instances where it does work. For example, if we count Dory as a comic relief, which I personally don't, I would say the comic relief of that movie is more like the seagulls that go mine, showing that there's more to them than just being this little goofus. Toning down the comedy and looking more into their backstory is a good way of going about that. And that's exactly what the Knuckles series does, except they decided to dial up all of his character traits that are meant to be perceived as comedic as well. So rather than being this childlike man of few words, he never shuts the hell up. He's incredibly loud now, he screams a lot, and that kind of village idiot cop personality has been dialed up to him just being a total loser. Imagine Homer Simpson if he didn't have a wife and kids, and you just exaggerated every single one of his goofy character traits by 100. Then you got Wade Whipple. Now here's the thing, a lot of the folks watching the Knuckles TV series, watching the Sonic movies, are, like me, kind of man-children. People who still have their Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle bedsheets, people who like to collect things, people who are dorks. And making that your audience surrogate, probably not the worst idea in the world. But this kind of comes across as more of an insult than it does an audience surrogate. Wade probably would have been higher on this list were it not for the Knuckles TV series, making him a main character and Flanderizing him. This is not the same guy from the first two movies. In at number 8 is Pistol Pete, and isolated from the story of the Knuckles TV series, there's actually something to work with here in terms of a mustache-twirling villain. In fact, he's kind of a perfect villain for a Knuckles TV series, because Knuckles is all about honor and loyalty. This guy has none of that. This guy is in it for himself and only himself, utterly unfit to lead any kind of family or tribe. He's a character that is unfortunately wasted on this bowling story and Wade. Knuckles never meets or comments on Pistol Pete, which is so weird because this guy is the complete opposite of who Knuckles is. Dishonorable. In at number 7 is Jack Sinclair. Jack Sinclair is like a character that walked straight out of a Simpsons episode. And again, unlike Knuckles, he has no sense of loyalty or honor. He's turning in his childhood best friend for a bounty. But once again, Knuckles never meets the guy. Now, I'd say he's wasted, but he is actually very well utilized as the vocalist in the rock opera. And his talking business card is like something straight out of one of those live-action Patch the Pirate scenes in SpongeBob. Again, the potential is there, but you know what would actually make this way better? If they had the same actor voicing Fang the Hunter, and that you just replace this character with Fang. Fang is Wade's childhood best friend, he hangs out at bowling alleys, and just have no one acknowledge the fact that this is a purple Jerboa. But unfortunately, that's just not possible when you have a world where you have to justify every single animal character that shows up in a Sonic movie. Yet you can justify all these people. I do enjoy Sonic 1 and 2 a lot, I love those movies, but I can acknowledge that that is absurd. In at number 6 is the Siberian Dance Guy. Again, him just being relegated to a single scene is a good thing. You wouldn't want to see him as a recurring character, but it's just the fact that he has a tattoo of himself on his chest that kind of seals the deal here. That's just really funny. In at number 5 is Wendy Whipple. And of all of Wade's family, Wendy Whipple is easily the best character of the bunch. In fact, she is probably the most well-written character in the Knuckles TV series, in that she was abandoned by her husband, Pistol Pete, and she's had to raise these kids by herself. And now when Wade is all infatuated with the idea of meeting his dad, she kind of has to remind him that this is a man that ultimately hurt her, allowing for some fairly mature conversations. I also like how well she gets along with Knuckles as well. Knuckles just sitting down to watch TV with her. It's just a nice moment in an otherwise pretty hard to watch episode. In at number 4 is Commander Walters. This is where we're crossing the path from characters that I do not care for at all to characters that I like. Jesus Christ, there's only 4 of them. Now you could say, yeah, he's the gun commander though, he is from the games. Well, no. Commander Walters and Abraham Tower are 2 different characters. What I like about Commander Walters is that he feels like he just walked off of the set of a Naked Gun remake. It's an incredibly hammy performance that kind of harkens back to those classic Leslie Nielsen movies. This is a character where I maybe could watch a spin-off about this guy. I don't want him eating up too much screen real estate in a Sonic movie, but if they made a GUN spin-off with this guy as the main character, I can see the appeal, provided that you have good comedy writers for it. Get Alan Denton and Greg Hahn from the Sonic Boom series in to write a gun spin-off, and you'd probably have something hilarious. This is one of those few human characters in these movies that I'm happy to have stick around. In at number 3 is Maddie Wowski. Maddie Wowski is just a genuinely very good person. She works as a veterinarian, so she's good with animals and she is just good with people. We see when she first discovers that Tom is harboring an alien, she's not so much worried about asking questions so much as she is just the well-being of this alien. She's incredibly compassionate. And her dynamic with Tom is just such a healthy depiction of a marriage. She is just an incredibly competent matriarch of this family unit, but it's not even just that, oh, she's a good wife, she's a good mother. She's also got a great relationship with her sister as well. She works well in a team environment. It's nice to have Maddie as just such a positive anchor for the different characters in these movies, be it Sonic or Tom. I like Maddie a lot. In at number 2 is the Donut Lord, Tom Wachowski. Now, in that first movie, they could have just had him be audience surrogate and him be effectively the main character, but instead, he exists in service of Sonic's arc, while also having an arc of his own that takes place in the background. Tom being a small-town cop who kind of wants to be an action hero who saves lives, and Sonic is the guy he saves. But to Sonic, the Donut Lord is the most important person in the world because he's the first human he ever actually got to speak to. The first person he could communicate with in 10 years. And from there, Tom becomes a father figure to Sonic, and it's a really nice arc of how, you know, Sonic initially sees him as a best friend, but finally accepts him as his dad by the end of the second film. But I'm going to say this real quick. This dynamic and this character, as well as Maddie as well, it has a shelf life in a Sonic series. Sonic 1 and 2 are coming-of-age stories. These are Sonic growing into the Sonic that we know and love. But Sonic has this domesticated kid living with his parents in a suburban household. It's going to get old. After a while, you want to see Sonic as the confident action hero that he really is meant to be. So I'm kind of hoping that at least come Sonic 4, the Wachowskis will take a bit of a back seat and will focus more on larger-than-life swashbuckling adventures for Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, Sonic 2 is mostly that. The first half of that movie is exactly that, in fact, with Sonic and Tails traveling across Siberia. And that's the best thing to come from these movies so far, in my opinion. So while I think the Wachowskis have their place, there does have to come a point when these become just Sonic the Hedgehog movies, rather than Sonic Wachowski movies. But then at number 1 is the human character that I will always be happy to see. One that, even after Sonic and his friends blast off to space for adventures anew, divorced from the Wachowskis, one that I'd still be happy to see stick around. And that is Agent Stone, which probably is no surprise given that he is a bit of a fan favorite as well. If there's one thing that these films got right from the get-go, it's Dr. Robotnik having his own personal lackey. Dr. Robotnik always works better with lackeys, and Agent Stone ticks all of the right boxes for a Dr. Robotnik lackey. At first glance, Agent Stone is a sycophant to the Doctor, but there's also a genuine love behind that loyalty. Dr. Robotnik gives him a sense of purpose, and in that regard, he's a bit more of a sympathetic character that grounds this otherwise very unsympathetic take on Dr. Robotnik. While Dr. Robotnik has his great ambitions devoid of any humanity and compassion, it's fun to see what Agent Stone gets up to in the background of that services Dr. Robotnik. There's a character here that we can genuinely root for, and Lee Majdu puts in a really charming performance and also makes a great ambassador for the Sonic fans, as he clearly loves working on these movies just as much as his character loves working with Dr. Robotnik himself. So even if I get what I want and Sonic blasts off to space for adventures on other worlds, I hope Agent Stone will still be a part of that to some capacity. So there you have it, that's my ranking of all of the human characters in the Sonic movies ranked from worst to best. What do you guys think? Who's your favorite? Who's your least favorite? It's Wendy Whipple, isn't it? Either way, comment below, discuss, and as always, if you've enjoyed this video and you want to support more like it, be sure to hit subscribe, hit the like button, and if you want to watch these videos ad-free, as well as get your name in the credits and other benefits, you can do so over at my Patreon page. And now a special shout out to the patrons in the $5 and above tier. We have Silver, Josh Strider, Grant Allen, Twilord, Coco210, Nigel Thrashner, Hey It's Classy, Jay Sevian, Ian, Chohenshin, KB, RT0, Carlex, Hypes, Sad Goku, Dare Denny, SSS06, Kale Bennett feat Gerald Seggy Flesh, Ken K, Mr. SP, Sirius the Skeptic, Biotin, Did You Know This Entire Video Was AI Generated, and Vera Wild. Thank you folks so much for your generosity, and to all of you at home, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Now get out of here.